Thank you for participating in the Performance Level Descriptor Review meeting for the STAAR Reading and Language Arts Assessment. Let's get started. The purpose of this short video is to provide you an understanding of performance level descriptors, or PLDs, and their role in assessments, give you an overview of the development and review process for the PLDs, and provide you some instruction to what you need to complete prior to coming to the in-person meeting. We look forward to working with you. This is not considered a comprehensive training that will be done at the meeting itself. The first question that you may be asking is, what are performance level descriptors? So let's answer that question first. Let's start by imagining a group of students taking a test. It could be a math test, a college entrance test, or even a driving test. The performance of the students that took this test would likely range from lower performance to higher performance and everything in between. What we would want to do is classify or define the performance of the students on the test. One way that we can group student performance on an assessment is with performance levels. The performance levels could simply be pass and does not pass, or on a classroom test, the well-known letter grades of A, B, C, and F. Whatever the labels, performance levels classify student performance on an assessment into distinct groups. For the STAAR assessments, the performance levels are does not meet, approaches, meets, and masters. One way to understand performance levels are by providing policy definitions for them. For the STAAR performance levels of masters, meets, approaches, and does not meet, policy definitions have been developed. For masters, it includes that students are expected to succeed in the next grade level with little or no academic intervention. Also, they are expected to think critically and apply their knowledge in both familiar and unfamiliar circumstances. For meets, it includes that students have a high likelihood of success but may need some short-term academic interventions. They can apply their knowledge and skills in only familiar circumstances. For approached, they are only likely to succeed with targeted academic intervention. And for does not meet, they are unlikely to succeed without significant ongoing interventions. As you can tell, these are general statements that are true regardless of the grade or subject of the assessment. It gives a general sense of the level of performance for students that are classified into each performance level. The way that we determine which students are classified into each performance level for a specific assessment are through performance level descriptors. The performance level descriptors, or otherwise known as PLDs, define what students should know and be able to demonstrate on an assessment to be classified into each performance level. For the STAAR assessment, the TEKS define what students should receive instruction on during a year for a course prior to taking the STAAR test. PLDs are created that define what knowledge and skills a student must be able to demonstrate to be classified into one of the STAAR performance levels. There are separate PLDs for each performance level. These are separate for masters, meets, approaches, and does not meet. Since PLDs define what students at each achievement level should know and demonstrate to be classified into an assessment, they can be very useful. The PLDs are useful in interpreting student performance on the assessment. If a student is classified into the approaches performance level, the performance level descriptors provide a snapshot of what could be expected regarding what that student knows and may be able to demonstrate. Because the PLDs describe expected student performance at each performance level, they can also assist in guiding student instruction. If a student is classified into the approaching performance level, the PLDs can help the teacher identify what knowledge and skills are needed by the student to progress to being classified as meets. Also, the PLDs are an essential part of establishing the cut scores for each of the performance levels on the assessment through a process called standard setting. Let's discuss the PLD development and review process. As stated earlier, the PLDs are based on the TEKS. So the first step in developing PLDs is to develop the academic standard for the STAAR assessment. These are the TEKS. Additionally, since the PLDs define expectations for the performance levels and policy definitions for those levels are developed. Using the standards and the achievement levels, content experts from TEA, with support from Pearson, create a set of draft PLDs to ensure that these accurately communicate expectations for each achievement level. A teacher review of the draft PLDs is conducted. The recommendations from the teacher review are provided to TEA, with the expectation that they will revise the PLDs, addressing any comments from the teacher committee. The purpose of this PLD teacher review meeting is to review the draft performance level descriptors that have been developed for the STAAR Reading Language Arts Assessment by TEA, provide recommendations for revisions to the draft PLDs to help create a set of expectations that may be used during the standard setting for the STAAR assessment. And this is done by comparing the PLDs across grade levels for reasonableness and appropriate coherence. There are 3 steps in completing this teacher review of the PLDs. During the next 2 weeks, you will be asked to complete an independent review of the draft PLDs for a set of grades. We will discuss how you do that review in a little while. Later in the month, you will join others that have also been completing the independent review to discuss your independent recommendations and to determine a single set of committee recommendations for the PLDs for each grade. At the end of the grade band meetings, you will have the opportunity to review the PLDs across the grades to make sense and to see if there are any recommendations to improve the articulation of the PLDs across the grades. So, in preparation for the upcoming in-person PLD review meeting, what do you need to do? Well, as part of the individual work for the next 2 weeks, you will receive the draft PLDs for the grade or grades that you will be working on during the meeting. During your independent review, you will want to take notes on any recommendations that come as you do your review. To assist in this, you have been provided access to the following materials. First, the STAAR performance levels and policy definitions. Also, the TEKS for the Reading Language Arts assessment for each grade. The draft PLDs for each grade that you will be working on, and a spreadsheet or worksheet to collect your notes and recommendations from the review. To complete your independent review, you will first need to access the draft PLDs. Start with reviewing the PLDs for one of the standards by reading the PLDs for each performance level for that standard. Look at the performance levels and their policy definitions. The first focus question asks, does the expected performance in the draft PLD statements align to the policy definitions for each performance level? Answer yes or no for each performance level. If you answered no for any of the performance levels, take some notes about some recommendations for edits to address this issue. Then read the standard in the TEKS. Consider how students would demonstrate this standard at each of the performance levels. Consider the focus question. Do the draft PLDs for each performance level reflect appropriate expectations in relation to the academic standards in the TEKS? Again, answer yes or no for each performance level. If you answered no for any of the performance levels, take some notes about some recommendations for edits to address any issues that you found. And then finally, review the PLDs across all of the performance levels from approaches to meets to masters, and then answer the focus question, are the draft PLD statements clearly and appropriately differentiated across performance levels? For this one, answer yes or no. If you answer no, then take some notes about some recommendations for edits to the PLDs. The final step of the process is to have an in-person meeting for all those individuals who have been completing the independent review of the PLDs. The purpose of this meeting is to collect the recommendations from all the individuals from the independent work that they have been doing and have discussions to collect a single set of recommendations that would go to TEA as recommended edits to the PLDs. This meeting will include first a general session in the morning where we will review what is the purpose of PLDs and what is the purpose of the meeting that we will be having that day. Then, majority of the day will be spent in grade level specific groups where you will have the opportunity to review and discuss the recommendations from the different individuals that have been completing the independent review over the next 2 weeks. Finally, once a single set of recommendations is completed, we'll have the opportunity to look at the PLDs across the grades and see if there are any recommendations that need to be provided to improve the articulation of the PLDs across the grades from 3 through 8 to English 1 and English 2. It is very important that you complete the independent review prior to coming to this meeting because there's not going to be time during the meeting to do the in-depth review that you need to be doing. We look forward to seeing you there and working with you. Thank you for taking some time and watching this short video. We look forward to working with you at the in-person meeting. But in the meantime, if you have any questions about the PLDs or about the independent activity that you are being asked to do, please reach out and ask whatever questions you have. We look forward to seeing you. Thank you so much. Have a good day.